In a city like St. Louis, it's not easy to stand out in the food scene. Maybe even especially here. St. Louis is made up of a lot of neighborhoods, and just about every neighborhood here has its own food scene. The Botanical Heights neighborhood is not an exception. Here, fish aficionados and lovers of Thai food alike show up for dry-aged nigiri, sashimi, and spicy Thai fusion dishes made by Nick Bogner of Indo. Nick's mastery of dry-aged sushi, respect for his Thai food heritage, even has Indo standing out in the national scene. So, when you see all Nick has accomplished with Indo, and you hear people calling him a prodigy, you have to wonder, what's his secret to success? As a chef, I need to stay curious in order to evolve. For me, that means looking beyond a good meal to learn more about who made it and what inspires them to cook.
La comida es amor.
Every great city has great food. I'm going on a journey around the world, right here in St. Louis. I'm on a quest to find passionate chefs who cooks from the heart.
It's exciting.
And I think it's the best.
To prove that food is love. And it's gonna be delicious. Food is love. Love your food. This is the Botanical Heights neighborhood. You may remember it from previous episodes of Food is Love, when I visited Alia and Olio and Nixta with Chef Ben Paremba, or the Darkness Croissant à la Pâtisserie Chouquette. But today I'm here for something different. It's Sunday, and I'm here at Indo. I'm gonna catch Nick breaking down fish and talk to him a little bit about sushi and culture. Though I've never been one to pay attention to awards, titles, etc., when I hear things thrown out like Food and Wine Best New Chef or James Beard Best New Restaurant, the caliber of work Nick Bogner is doing in his small corner sushi restaurant Indo starts to sound interesting and indicates that something delicious is probably waiting inside.
Pictures, that's my parents back when they used to run at hotels, and my grandfather with his first wife, and then my grandmother.
Already knowing Nick's knack for dry aging fish, there is at least one thing in this kitchen I need to see for myself. So what I'm really interested in over here is this cabinet right here.
Yeah, so this is our fish aging cabinet.
Yeah.
It has a really, really small temperature range.
Yeah.
So it stays very, very cold all the time. And also it's a little drier in there too. So it's great for dry aging. If we could, if we put beef in there, you could dry age beef. But what we do is we do fish. So shima aji here, that's a type of horse mackerel. In the back there's a madai or a red snapper. These are actually really cool. You're gonna love this. This is a rosy throat sea perch, which is a really rare fish from Japan. It's very sought after out there. So we get those from Japan. It's like a snapper that has the fat content of almost like toro. So it's like butter. Amazing fish, yeah, super excellent. Some striped bass here, and then in the back is a cherry ocean trout. And I think they have those up in like Denmark, right? So like a fjord ocean trout. This one actually comes from Tasmania. Down here we have aji or horse mackerel, so another type of horse mackerel.
Okay, this is a Japanese technique?
Yeah, some people think that this is kind of a newer technique, but I think it's just more coming out into the mainstream of like what people understand about fish.
Today, Nick is treating me to an omakase. Roughly translated, respectfully let another decide what's best. In this case, I'm leaving it up to Nick what to serve me. So it's basically a chef choice menu of a whole bunch of yummy fish. I'm beyond excited for this.
It's cool because when you sit down and eat an omakase, you're gonna have so many different flavors and stuff, and it's just fun, And it's cool that you get to see this part because guests don't usually get to see this part.
Yeah.
This is an aji or a horse mackerel. It has a wonderful like velvet fattiness, and it's great fresh. So this one doesn't really dry age. We've only dried it out for maybe half a day.
So people ask me, they say, well, what is Indo? My explanation is, well, do you like sushi? And everybody goes, yes.
Yeah.
Do you like Thai food? They go, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, can you imagine the marriage of the two flavors?
I think that's a great way to explain it. It almost doesn't make too much sense until you kind of know me as a person or like a chef, Because for me, it's just kind of what I like to cook now. My entire life, I've worked in Japanese restaurants and I've done sushi for a really long time. So I've always going to do some sort of sushi, whether it was sashimi or a raw preparation, crudo even. the food of my family and my heritage is Thai food. My family's all Thai.
Yeah.
All the women in my life, my mom, my aunts, my grandmother were all amazing cooks, you know, and professional chefs too.
So where was your first job where you actually started making sushi?
At my mom's restaurant in Nippon Tay. Yeah. So I think around 15, 16, you know, they needed some help up on the sushi bar, and I had been kind of observing for years.
But if she's Thai, how did she? Why did she open a sushi restaurant?
She had a ton of experience as a restaurant manager in hotels, and she met some guys, Japanese sushi chefs, and she brought them on as her chef, and then she just was more of a restaurateur. Over time, she learned how to do everything.
Yeah.
And then that kind of trickled down into teaching me as well. Started as a dishwasher, did whatever she needed to kind of help out the restaurant, family business. At one point, something switched where I started taking it more seriously instead of just kind of being like annoyed that I had to help the restaurant, you know, and I started to like it a lot.
So the name Indo, where does that come from? What is
So when I thought about kind of what my food was, you know, we think a lot about the region of at one point was referred to as Indochina, and that's kind of a European way of saying Southeast Asia.
Okay.
It's dated for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, I like to try to represent that proudly too. And most of Southeast Asia, where I pull a lot of my flavors from, you know, I'm half Thai, and my dad's from the United States, and I think that kind of shows in my food as well too. I think that a lot of the food I do can be very approachable for someone from St. Louis.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like all the most hardcore Asian flavors either, and I think it's cool that I can kind of bring that Midwest kind of
I mean, you
comfort
can
zone
you communicate that kind of cuisine to St. Louis, knowing both sides of it. That's excellent.
Exactly. Yeah, and I that's how I feel like when I think about how I like to represent that kind of like Indo-China vibe.
Yeah. Such a show of precision cutting and knowledge of each fish. Achievements aside, it's obvious to me that Nick knows a lot about what he's doing. But to find out more about Nick, I'm sharing today's omakase experience with his mom, Ann, owner of the St. Louis sushi institution Nippon Tay. An immigrant from Thailand, Anne came to the U.S. to pursue an education, and she never left.
Nick remember a lot of stuff that my mom made for him. We call her kunyai. Nick called her kunyai. So grandma, she made one dish with the pumpkins and eggs and garlic. He loved that.
There's so much food that we eat that triggers a memory of your childhood or your parents or grandparents, and it sticks with you forever.
Forever.
And you have this craving for the flavors because it reminds you of things that you,
our childhood.
those memories,
yes.
right?
Lab, you know, like Thai northern style. Lab has so many like region, you know. Every part of Thailand they tend to have their own. My mom, she used to make it all the time for us, and I have been making it since my mom passed. I'm thinking about her all the time, you know, almost every time when I make that dish.
Really excited to do another omakase dinner for the first time in a while and show you kind of what we do on the sushi side of things. Kind of bringing the Thai flavors to the sushi.
Yeah.
Started when we were eating in the back of Nippon Tay with the other employees. And me and my aunts and my cousin, we would eat and we would make fish with like spicy Thai chilies and stuff. And we never sold it to customers. And I don't know why, but we just didn't think like it was like a thing to sell, and we just made sushi. And here at Indo, it was like, let's make that spicy fish thing that we used to eat and love so much, you know? This dish really kind of, for me, embodies like myself as a chef with the Thai flavors and then the Japanese techniques. A little more of that chili oil. This is the Isan Hamachi, our signature sushi.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, that garlic is awesome.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
It's like a little frosted flake or something.
Yeah. But this is definitely, you know, you can taste the Thai flavors
Right.
now, right?
Like tom yum,
Yeah.
like coconut cream and chili.
That's very good. This really says everything about
This is
Indo.
Yes.
This dish,
Yes.
right? It's simple, yet it's very sophisticated because you're fusioning those flavors. Trying to explain how good all the food was today is impossible. The melding of Thai spice with sushi like this is something that I've never seen before. And it has me wondering if Nick is in fact a prodigy of flavors. Piece by piece, we worked our way through some really excellent sushi. I've had so much that I hit my limit, but it's hard to stop when it's this good. Just when I thought the experience couldn't have been any better, Nick offers me a gracious proposition.
But I'd love to invite you over to her house, or maybe she should invite you, I don't know. But we want to show you some of the food that we do in my family and when we gather as my family. And we want to let you try some of the recipes that my grandmother taught us, so you can kind of see some of the roots of our food.
Oh wow, I'm very excited. A dinner with Nick's family? Count me in. I'm sure whatever we're having is going to register pretty high on the spice chart. But for now, I want to get a good look at where Nick first learned to make sushi. So I'm meeting Anne at her restaurant at Nippon Tay. So I'm on Manchester, and this is so interesting about Nick's family. You know, they're everywhere. There he is.
She opened 21 years ago, so there's been a lot of changes.
So Nippon Tay's been here for 21 years?
21 years.
In this location?
In this location, yeah.
Oh, wow.
We are going to, and not necessarily open a new restaurant, but moving Nippon Tay to the city, where we can be a little bit closer to Indo. Yeah. We can work in kind of a better symbiotic relationship between the two places, and also giving us a little more space to do some new things that we've been planning and kind of working on as well. So we're going to combine the fish butchering and dry aging program out of one building, and that's going to be huge. Like it should allow us to do way more creative things with our program as far as the fish that we dry age and doing more of that. We want to bring kind of this classic Japanese grill section to the menu. So taking this amazing dry-aged fish and actually cooking it on Japanese binchotan charcoal, which is one of the most amazing ways to enjoy this stuff.
Okay, so now I've seen the Japanese restaurant Nick grew up in and see where he learned to make sushi. But what about Thai food? We are visiting Chiang Mai in Webster Groves. Nick Bogner's family reaches a lot of restaurants in St. Louis and have for many years. Nick has taken me to meet someone who not only influenced his cooking, but his mother's decision to move to St. Louis. This is Sue Hill, Nick's aunt and restaurateur. Since 1996, Sue has owned and operated the Pan-Asian restaurant Bistro Saffron in Cape Girardeau. Sue looked after Nick's mom when she first came to the United States and continues to be a force in the family business of food.
You know, when I was here, the very first time alone, and I was so excited when my sibling just coming, you know, and when Nick was born, he was so warm up to me, you know, and I'm so like just excited, you know, for them.
Did you see in Nick at some point, did you know that he was gonna become a chef?
Nick just didn't eat just anything. He's quite picky, actually, you know. Number one, I know that my mom fed him a good food. You know, my mom came and helped my sister. I don't think he had a bottle of food, you know. No.
So, I mean, he was fed Thai food from an early age.
Yes. I would keep Nick sometime, and we went to eat. And he refused to have the kids' menu. Someone put the kids' menu in the front of his high chair, whatever.
Yeah.
No. He just want to see what I'm gonna eat and what we have, you know. Yeah. He ordered adult food, and he's always from the get-go, and he can talk like about food, you know. And I said, wow, we're gonna have Kun Yai follower here.
Like any good aunt would do, Sue insists of feeding us while we're here. And who am I to resist? Plus, it's a chance to taste some of the food Sue learned to make back in Chiang Mai.
This is, you can eat just like lunch.
Okay.
Something very simple that remind me when I was a kid. My mom would make this for us. And she give us a lot of rice, and then we have to share.
What is it called?
Okay, pat bun sen.
Okay.
Pat means stir. You know.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
yeah,
pat means stir.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of noodles is that? Like glass noodles or?
Glass noodle, yeah, or cellophane noodle. You know, you cook something easy. You put a little bit of salt, and you see it smell good.
Yeah. Is this like a peasant meal?
Yeah. Yes, Chinese would use the oyster sauce, right?
Yeah.
Everything oyster sauce. We use soy sauce, okay? Light soy sauce.
Okay.
A little bit of green onion and onions.
It doesn't take long before the meal is ready, and it looks like it's quite the spread. This is not your stereotypical Thai food at all. This is the kind of food Nick's grandmother made for her family. So what do you call these things?
This is saku sai mu. Saku, this is the tapioca seed, and then we have the filling. We make the filling with ground pork,
Okay.
and onions and black pepper, other thing, and with peanut, ground toasted peanut. But you have to cook it down like hours, you know.
Yeah.
Cook it down, and then you make a little ball, and then you wrap it in that. So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so delicious, and it's such fresh flavors too.
But you see
it's
how
different, you know. It's not the usual
just
restaurant Thai food, you know. These are my favorite though. I can't eat enough of these.
It's hard to beat simple ingredients and flavorful food like this.
And
So in Thai culture, do you just put everything out on the table,
Yes.
and then you just take a little bit of what you want, or
Yes.
it's not like your first course, second
Always
course?
family style.
no,
Always family style.
Always
Okay.
family style.
This is how I grew up with. We don't have anything fancy, like
Yeah.
Japanese style or something, or European style, China, you know.
Yeah.
But when I was born, this is just all we have. But it just reminds me of my mom, you know, when we were a kid. You see the den or whatever, that would keep it rustic, that would keep it family, you know.
Yeah. Anymore now, I've cooked so much food now that I need to be inspired. And what inspired me is this right here. Your cooking is totally a reflection of you and what you do. And it's because of your mom, your aunt, and how you were brought up. Little moments like these are worth so much to me. Time with good people and a humble meal that speaks volume about Nick. I get a strong sense that Sue is just as proud of Nick as his mother is.
He remember the good taste. I think he can pick something and he can taste it.
Yeah.
That's what I just found it very intrigued, you know, in my little nephew. And
Yeah.
I do agree. Food is what peacemaker. You're right.
Yeah.
Food is what brings us all together.
Yeah.
That bring the world a little closer,
Yeah.
you know.
The family influence on Nick's food style is obvious, from working in his mother's sushi restaurant to the flavors of his Thai heritage. When you think about it, it really makes sense that Nick would combine the two. Kind of a genius move. Now that I have a better picture of what influenced the food at Indo, it's time for my dinner date at the Bogner home. Even before I make it to the door, I can smell the spices. Walking into the kitchen, I'm greeted by Sue, tending coriander beef on the stove. Meanwhile, Nick is prepping khao soy, a kind of noodle dish that is made of coconut milk and curry paste. And if that wasn't enough, Anne is making lob, in this case with ground tenderloin.
So onions, the red onions.
Okay.
Okay. Cilantro, green onions, crispy onions, crispy garlic, the lab spice, coriander, nutmeg, long pepper.
Is it hot or is it just fragrant?
It's a fragrant.
Kind of both,
yeah.
you know. It's
Okay.
kind of both,
And
but it's a little spicy for
The
sure.
thing that make it spicy is dry Thai chili peppers that we put it in
Okay.
there. Yes. We don't use salt, okay? Just a fish sauce.
Kunyai's recipe. In fact, most of the dishes made here tonight is Kunyai's recipes. And the only thing better than the smell are the stories about Nick as a kid.
Nick and I would do backpack camping. And Nick's like, Dad, I'll take care of the menu.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old you were. You were probably 8 or 9 even. And even backpack food, he wanted to make something out of that because, you know, MRE is no way.
Yeah, exactly.
I might even have that pan. That would be your official first cooking pan, that camping pan, I think.
Yeah, I did like to cook when we were camping.
He was so young. He was like 10.
I think about 10.
He asked Mike to go to the grocery store and pick up whole chicken.
Okay.
Chicken.
Yeah, he wants whole chicken. And I was at work, and we have a Thai cookbook. Read the book, recipe and everything. I came home from work. The dish was on that countertop. The cookbook, the recipe book was open, that page that he made. Nick made the spicy chicken with basil and Thai chili pepper and garlic. The food that he made looked exactly like on the book. So I saw it and I tasted it. It was good too, and that's what.
It was very tasty.
I don't want him to be in the restaurant business. And that night when I came home and I saw that, it was like, oh no.
For most, tonight's dinner would be considered pretty spicy. But for the family sitting around the table here tonight, this is comfort food.
The soup, you know, the khao soi is so interesting. Like, it has so many things going on. And then, you know, in northern Thailand, they're kind of famous for their khao soi in Chiang Mai, right?
Yeah.
You like it, Mom?
That's so good, Nick.
Larb is usually reserved for special times where it's worth the extra effort.
This is what you're gonna get when you come to our house on Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see how you think.
The larb is delicious.
Too spicy? No.
It feels like an honor to have it on my plate. This is the kind of food and the kind of evening that raises the benchmark. A dinner built around family recipes and good stories.
I remember that when Nick came to us and said that this is the restaurant that he wanted to be. And I said, Nick, are you sure you're going to put this on the menu? I said, Nick, I don't know. This is a little bit, you know, like risky. I just said that, you know, what if they don't order? And Nick said, Mom, Indo not going to be just another restaurant. That's what he said. Yeah. I remember this word. He said,
I think that's good.
He said he's going to make Indo special. This is going to be like national. He always said that word to me, and I got goosebumps too when I think about that. And he did it so well.
But you know, opening a restaurant, it doesn't matter where you open it, it's a challenge. And it's hard work. And then it's non-stop. It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, if you want to make it.
You know, when I was younger, and I didn't want to be a chef, I worked at the restaurant, but I didn't want to be a chef, or I didn't know that I wanted to be a chef. And that was a point in time where I don't think there was a lot of highlighting of chefs and what they did. And my mom and I saw what the reality of restaurants were very early on. And I knew it from experience. Yeah. My mom doesn't get home until 9:30. I'm usually asleep. You know what I mean? And I remember trying to stay awake so that I could see her when she got home from work. And nobody knew who you guys were. Nobody cared. Just the guests that came in, maybe a handful of people. And those same people we probably still know now. But, you know, I got to see that reality and understand, it's like, if you want to do this, you have to work so hard. So it was good to have that in the back of my head, because I understood like what the actual kind of sacrifice you make to try to make such a great restaurant. And it's just complete dedication to that. And there is a way to make it pay off, but you have to try. You have to like do so many things. It's just intense. And when I knew we were going to open Indo, I was like, I just have to do this like as hard as I can. I have to try, you know, maybe in my life I haven't really even tried as hard as I could at anything.
I started out wondering about Nick's secret to success. Right away it was clear. The people around him are a strong factor. He absorbed the flavors of Thai cooking from his family. He grew up in his mother's sushi restaurant, and the recipe of success, family, is clearly a key ingredient. His respect and admiration for the women in his family is something Nick wears on his sleeve.
My grandma had a profound impact on all of us, but in a different way. Okay. You know, especially my Aunt Sue, who's the eldest, and my mom, she taught me some cooking too. And it was good to be able to spend some time with her and learn some stuff in Thailand before she passed away.
I've noticed from the stories of Nick as a kid that from an early age he had an interest in food that was all his own. And hearing him talk about his restaurant with so much feeling today, his success should come at no surprise at all. Nick's style of food is unique to his experience. I don't know anyone anywhere who's doing what he's doing at Indo.
อาหารคือความรัก no? Yeah.
อาหารคือความรัก
Yes.
I thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Food is love. Chopped pickled herring, Thai red chilies, onions, and we have a little pineapple juice and ginger, curry, cream that I made, cucumbers to give it a little crisp, The attention and love that Nick has put into his fusion of flavors has elevated his family's foothold in the food scene, and maybe even created a new style of sushi. In light of all that, maybe that magazine writer was right. Maybe Nick is a prodigy. It's not my place to say for sure.
We are making a pickled herring tartar.
What I can say with confidence is that Nick's kunyai would be proud of him now.